Hello. Today we're going to be talking about writing equations and using these equations to model certain situations. So in number one, I have this information about a lawyer who charges $400 for a retainer fee and then charges $75 per hour that he or she works on a certain case. So we're going to write an equation to model this situation. So we don't know a few things. One, we don't know the amount of hours that the person, this lawyer, is going to work on the case. So I'm going to use T to represent hours worked. Okay? And the other thing we don't know is the amount that the lawyer is going to charge, or the cost, or the charge for this attorney. So our equation, our total charge is, well, right away we pay $400 just for the visit. Then we also pay $75 per hour. So $75 per T hours worked. So if the lawyer works 1 hour on it, we're adding an additional $75. If the lawyer works an hour and a half on it, we're doing whatever 75 times 1.5 is, added to 400. And that's the charge for this attorney. So we've seen equations like this before, typically rewritten like this. And I did this just using the commutative property. I can switch the order of addition. And in this case, there is the slope, or rate of change. So, I mean, we would say it's a rise of $75 in cost for every 1 hour that has been worked. And this would be the y-intercept, or better yet to say, the cost after 0 hours worked. And maybe y-intercept is a bad word. Maybe we should say it's the c-intercept since we don't have a y variable. Let's look at another one. Okay, I have another one here, number 2. This line is going to have a slope of 5, and it's going to go through the point 0, -3. So if I'm just looking at y equals mx plus b, we know one thing that can go into this equation right now. We know that m, my slope, is 5. So slope is 5, that's going to go right there. So I know that y is equal to 5 times x plus whatever b is. We don't know what the y-intercept says, or at least it doesn't say what the y-intercept is. So let's take a look at this. We can do this a couple ways. If I draw myself a sketch, 0, -3 is going to be approximately right there. And then I'm going to go up 5 and over 1, and so right about there is going to be my next point. And we can see what the y-intercept actually is, because the y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis, and we have to cross the y-axis there at 0, -3. So that means that -3 must be our b. You can say y equals 5x minus 3. How about we look at another way to do this? If I know that I have y equals 5x plus b, the only thing I want to know is, what is b? Well, I have this information right here to help. I know that x is 0, and when x is 0, my y value is -3. So if we plug this information in for now, we'll be able to figure out what b equals. So if I have -3 equals 5 times 0, and then add b, well, -3 is equal to 5 times 0 is 0, plus b. And 0 plus b, anything added is 0, stays the same. So b is -3. So all I wanted to do was know what the y-intercept is, and I can now plug that in. So y is equal to 5x, and then b is -3. Let's try another one. Here in number 3, this line has a slope of 1/2 and goes to the point 2, 6. So once again, we're going to look at y equals mx plus b. And if I draw myself a sketch of this, I'm going to make this a little bit more accurate this time. And here's the point 2, 6. Now I know that if I do a slope of 1/2, that means I can count up 1 and then over 2 and get my next point. Or I can go down 1 and left 2 and get my next point there and see what the line is. And the nice thing is, by doing that, I've actually shown myself what the y-intercept is. That point is 0, 5. So I know that that must be my b. So when I fill this in, I can say that y is equal to, my m is 1/2, still times x, plus, and the b is 5. The other way to go about this, we know that my slope is 1/2, so I can plug that in for m right now. Now all I want to do is find b, and once again I have this point 2, 6, and we're going to plug that in. When x is 2, my y value is 6. So I replace y with 6, I replace 1/2 with, I replace x with 2, still plus b. And we solve for b. 6 is equal to 1 plus b. We subtract 1 on both sides, so 5 equals b. And once again we see my equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 5, when we plug in both the b and the m. Let's look at one more. Here I have 2 points, -1, 1 and 3, 5. On this one, if we draw the sketch, -1, 1 will be there. 3, 5 will be up here. We can draw the line in. Not a great effort, but close enough. So we need to know 2 things. We need to know, again, both the slope and the y-intercept. Well, first of all, what's the slope? How much did we go up? How much was my rise? And we counted up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we counted up 4. And then how much did we run? I went over 1, 2, 3, 4. So I ran 4. So my slope has a rise of 4 and a run of 4, which is 1. Well, then if I go up 1 over 1 instead, because that's the same as 1 over 1, I can count up 1 over 1, and we're right there at 0, 2. And that's my b. So y is equal to, and I replace m with 1 times x plus b, which is 2, or simply y equals x plus 2. So let's look at the more algebraic way to do this, wherein first thing we need, still doing y equals mx plus b, we need both the m and the b, the slope and the y-intercept. So the easiest thing to do when we have 2 points is to find the slope. So I know the slope formula, that's our y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so we're going to do y2 is 5 minus y1 is 1 over 3 minus -1. 5 minus 1 is 4. 3 minus -1 is also 4, which simplifies to 1. So in my y equals mx plus b, I can replace m, the slope, with 1. And again, the only thing we need to find now is b, the y-intercept. So just like before, I'll pick one of these 2 points and I'll choose 3, 5. I could have chosen the other one, but I don't know. I like this one better, I guess. So I'm choosing 3, 5, and I'm going to put in the 3 for x and the 5 for y. We know that when x is 3, y is 5. But we also know that when x is -1, y is +1. So I could plug those in if I wanted. But I have 5 equals 1 times 3 plus b. Well, 5 is equal to 3 plus b. And when we subtract 3 on both sides to get b alone, 2 is equal to b. So we're ready to write our equation. Y is equal to, my m is 1 times x plus my b is 2. Or simplifying that, y is equal to x plus 2. And we're done.